All right, we are back, episode 6. I am Anubix. To my left is Jesse. You're muted.
I'm muted. Name's Jesse, also known as Cert. Michael.
Hey, how's it going, folks? My name is Michael Gaucher, and I'm pleased to be here, and I look forward to an illuminating conversation.
Nice. We're actually going to let Jesse kick this one off since he has so much to talk about. Go ahead, Jesse.
I didn't even realize I had so much to talk about. I think illuminating is the word of the night. So I don't know which. Do we want to talk about the open source issues, Google's position in the market, OpenAI, they made their first chip, or the government restrictions on frontier models now?
Well, I know top of mind for a lot of people is the government restrictions on frontier models. The states are concerned about that because, a lot of states wanted to rein in AI. And there's just a clash right now where the states are feeling, undermined by the federal government when it comes to this. So it's going to be a very interesting situation.
So when Fable dropped, I ended up very angry and wrote a white paper on the authorization and authentication side of it because of how they handled like the classifiers just kicking you out automatically. If you did anything cyber or science related, it would kick you off to OPAs. So then 2 days later, the government, a researcher first figured out how to do prompt injection on it within 48 hours. Government takes it away. They give it back, but Fable's no longer public. From my understanding, it's not going to go back public. And Mythos is now part of the trusted group that was originally the way that it was previously. So both Mythos and Mythos 5 are trusted partners only, and they're not giving us a list of trusted partners this time. So to me, that screams that it's government oversight, that it's going to be US-based only, and only the people that the government wants to see it instead of just Anthropic. That's the part that worries me, because that's going to push out a lot of security research for people who are doing like research on like MCPs or cybersecurity research using AIs specifically. If you can't use a frontier model, how much is that going to put you behind?
Nice. I think now more than ever, like just being able to really work with 2 billion parameter models that are in-house, and being able to capitalize on those gains. I mean, that's really what I can see manageably being effective at this moment. Like the large scale that everybody was talking about and are continuing to talk about, I don't really see it from a non-enterprise perspective, right? Like consumer grade hardware, like, it has its limitations. It can only do so much. You can only do so much as far as workarounds. But at the end of the day, like that giant shiny pony that everybody was promised, I don't see it really coming to pass. And allowing them to kind of like pigeonhole all this and allow only a certain handful of individuals who they deem worthy of this, and giving them access only to it. I mean, what does that really look like? I mean, do you see individuals trying to maybe reverse engineer from here, or what do you think?
I think that'll be very difficult if it's actually governments doing or the U.S. government doing regulation, because it's hard to say what would happen if they found out you did reverse engineer something that they're putting the like handlebar or the restrictions on. That could end up being some sort of major crime all of a sudden, because now it's national security risk if you reverse engineer it. Yeah, I mean, and then you look at like GPT Daybreak. That's supposed to go live somewhat soon, which is their version of Mythos. Is the same thing going to happen there? So I don't think Google's pushing a security model, and I don't think DeepSeek is either. So I think Daybreak's the only other one that's pushing that. And if Daybreak also gets restricted, there won't be another like bleeding edge frontier model specifically security related.
Well, I predict some back and forth on this when it comes to industry versus the government for this reason. The red herring that's always brought up from a political standpoint is other nations. They're going to say this nation over here is developing, cybersecurity capabilities, offensive cybersecurity capabilities, and we need to respond to that. Now, the federal government in the U.S. may not necessarily greenlight Anthropic or OpenAI, but they may greenlight somebody else, maybe Google, who knows? And then NSA might jump in and they're like, we got to do something. And so there's this seesaw between regulators, senators, representatives who say, oh, we got to rein this in. And then you got the national intelligence agencies, they're going to seesaw. And you're going to see this narrative play out in the public before our eyes, where it's like, it's going to make people's heads spin. One day they're saying, hey, we got to invest more in offensive cybersecurity. And then the next day they're going to be like, we need to shut them down.
I know the NSA currently has some Anthropic engineers on loan. That was publicly disclosed like a week or two ago.
Was it a handful? Like it's like 8 or 10 or something like that?
Yeah, but that was also right before the Mythos 5.5 takedown or Mythos 5 takedown.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there was the public post where it was a senator or something was saying that Mythos hacked the NSA when they were doing their testing.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I mean, so where do we go? Like I was saying, yeah, it's gonna be fun the next year, right? It's gonna be a fun ride. Like, dude, it's like every week now. Like, it's turned into like what's gonna happen Monday? What's gonna happen Tuesday?
The worry to me is that's going to snowball like into the open source thing that we're going to discuss later. The fact that offensive security, like the AIs for that have got as good as they are, that's going to bleed into the rest of these accesses, and your open source stuff even is going to stop being open source. It's going to be open source in name alone. It's kind of terrifying concept to me right now.
We're paying a huge price for legacy decisions. And when we look at the trust that the public and investors and companies have put into AI, I've been asking myself for a good while, where did all of this trust come from? I had trust too, in some ways I still do. That trust where it says, well, we really can replace our whole workforce. We can get rid of all the people because AI, at least 2 years ago, looked so smart, like it could just replace people. And there's just this high trust. And you got to ask yourself, where does the web of trust come from? It don't come from the CEOs of the AI companies. It didn't come from Sam Altman. It didn't come from Dario Amodei. I trace the trust back to what we have historically trusted in this country, where it comes to these PhDs. We have some very smart PhDs and researchers. They are very rational people, and they make some very compelling case for the research that they've done in large language models and AI. They seem to be the most unbiased source of people you can you can reference, right? And then when companies get a hold of their research and commercialize it, it's still traced back to these researchers. You're probably familiar with the name Andre Karpathy. He's with OpenAI, right? And he coined the term vibe coding. Well, the thing about Andre Karpathy is he's a PhD. He's a doctoral person, right? He's credentialed. And so when he talks about AI having these impacts, and Dario Amadei, he's a PhD neuroscientist, right? When these individuals talk about the science and all of this, we put high stake in their objectivity, their years of like thesis writing, white papers, all of that kind of stuff. So these are not people that you can just disregard, but that's at the core of our society. Is we got some very smart people that have some very smart ideas, but when these smart ideas encountered the real world, this is where we are now. And so we just need some new smart people that can rethink all of this and just reset us, because where we're headed right now doesn't seem very productive in terms of the cybersecurity technologies we're talking about and how stuff is just falling apart like butter.
Is there any way possible that you see this snowballing in a positive direction?
Well, the biggest scenario that I see historically, just looking at history as a guide, is that you always have somebody you can't see coming. We talked about this a couple of podcasts ago, but the short of it is that it's somebody like Jesse doing research, and somebody catches on to Jesse's research. He's publicized it on a blog somewhere, and that just becomes its own thing, like Wozniak and, building circuit boards way back then in the 70s. And, you had Wozniak building circuit boards in his house and all this kind of stuff, right? And at the same time, you had IBM. Well, who actually became dominant, right? It's Apple. Apple has the big valuation in computer hardware. All that came from Wozniak in a garage. IBM was the bigger company, but they failed. And it was the small guy that they didn't see coming that did it. And it's going to happen over and over again. We're just waiting for that. And believe me, the big companies are looking for that small guy too. And so they're buying people, right? But it's the people they don't see, the people they're invisible to, that's going to come out and spin this stuff into a positive way.
I think a really good positive that's going to come out of this, especially when they start regulating the frontier models like they have. Yeah, like Michael said, you're going to have all of these like niche communities pop up building local LLMs that are highly specialized. And I mean, we might get like a security focused LLM that is only security, like the DPAT research. That's a security focused LLM. We might see that push forward to the point that it's competing with a frontier model because of how specialized it is.
Nice. Yeah. All right. I'm going to jump to this because I've been waiting for this. This is something random, but the new Commodore callback flip phone. Have you guys saw that? What is the exact, what are they calling that thing? Commodore callback 8020. Have you guys seen it? Which I like the phone, man. I like the phone, dude.
It's not for me. I think that it's like a gimmicky cash grab. That's what it screams to me.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. I don't know. It's something about the phone I really like, man. I think I do. My only issue with it, which would make me like want to actually get it, it still feels a little too like bloated, right? Like I'm of the opinion that if you're gonna bring back something like that, throw it in like a form factor of like the Razor, the original Razor, something like that, something sleek, something that like screams like, hey, I'm still new, but I'm retro as well.
Remember the old chocolates with the slide keyboard?
Yes. Wait, so do you remember the Tony Hawk edition of the Sidekick?
I do not.
Do you remember the Sidekick?
I do remember the sidekick.
Okay, so they had. I'm trying to think. It was the one that pushed up, right? It was black and well, the one I had, it was like black with a purple trim, and you would push it up. But there was one. It was a Tony Hawk edition. It was super nice. But dude, I miss that phone. I love that phone. Would I get it today? Of course not.
So my question is, how does this compare to like the actual safe smartphones that are released that are security focused?
I haven't looked at it that deep because I'm not going to purchase it. But I just thought it was cool. But who knows? I mean,
Yeah. So you got this phone from Eric Prince. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Eric Prince. Eric Prince was the former. Well, he was the founder and former CEO of Blackwater, former Navy SEAL, I believe, but officer grade Navy SEAL. And he founded Blackwater and then renamed it XE, right? So Eric Prince, he's real deal military guy. Well, last year or year before last, he was on I think he was on Tucker Carlson's show, and he has this phone, and this phone is actually selling. I actually forgot the name, but he sells his phone, and what's that?
It's the Up phone?
Yes, the Up phone for sure. And it's a lockdown phone from a Navy SEAL guy company, all this kind of stuff. He paid the people to do all the research and de-Googleify it and all this great stuff. And so as far as I understand, that's like the premium grade lockdown phone you can get that, there's somebody who actually goes in there and makes sure it's locked down. So I've seen reviews on it. It looks like it's the real deal, but I still would go for like a traditional flip phone.
So that phone you're talking about, I'm looking at it currently. It's ugly.
Yeah, they're like $900 and super big.
But
they're locked down well.
But if you're thinking in consideration of like what you would expect from the military, right? You would think the form factor of like a tough book, something of that, I mean, now looking at it, it's like, okay, cool. That's slim. It's slim. They did good with that, right? But like, no, I can't speak to the hardware software of how, sandbox it is. But what I will say is, I hope it's squared away for $900 because the aesthetics of it.
Or hear me out. You just eBay an old Pixel and throw Graphene OS on it. Much cheaper.
I'm gonna stay with my Oppo.
I'm just going to stay with the stuff I got. They got security holes all over it. It's like you're not going to do anything with these guys.
So what about the Apple phone? Do you think the Apple's going to like? Do you think the phone will like live up to the hype?
So the Apple phone had a great start in terms of security about 10 years ago. The problem that Apple has is that, okay, there's a couple of problems, and I'll just go through the easy ones. Number one, it's based off of BSD kernel. It's a highly studied kernel, and with Mythos and everything, they know every in and out of the BSD kernel. Number two, a lot of the source code or software patterns for how the Apple phone and iOS and whatever in general is made, including the security approaches, that's known. But number three, and the biggest one, is the Israelis has this technology called Pegasus, and it's been reliable over the last decade for being able to exploit 0 days on the Apple platform and all this. With all that said, I still think that if you're going to compare Android to iOS, iOS still, in terms of a consumer grade technology, they have a lot more going for them, and it's at least going to slow down many script kiddies and maybe your nosy neighbors who know enough to be dangerous with whatever they find on the internet as far as cybersecurity.
So I
Even
just thought,
outside of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, you.
I was going to say, even outside of Pegasus, 8200 had backdoors for the iOS devices. And that's 2013, 2014. So then I think Iran had a group that was hitting iPhones. So it's much more secure than Android, like Michael was saying, but still, it's like everything else. There's security holes. It just takes the right individuals to find them.
I mean, I think a part of it too is like to kind of piggyback off what you were saying a little bit ago. Think about with all the LLMs, right? And then if you have all this information, you can just ingest into these now. I mean, cracking these things, finding vulnerabilities is going to be cake, right? So yeah, it's. I feel like the whole landscape, it will never be the same. We're just going to have to, figure out how to apply and leverage the same thing that's being applied to us, right? But I was looking at what they say is what the new iPhone Fold's going to look like. Did you see that picture? I just put it in the. It is. It it looks bad, man. Like, where are they getting these people that are making these phones? Just looks like it literally looks like they took iPhone 18 Pro, miniaturized it, like broke it in half, and then like stitched it back together and was like, here you go.
Well, the problem is that the reason why it looks like that. See, Microsoft had a phone before the Samsung Fold. I don't know if you guys remember that. I forgot what it's called, but Microsoft had a phone like that. It was two screens. So anyway, the problem is that there is no innovation in that space in terms of you can't make the phone any other way. If you're going to make a foldable phone, they're all going to look the same. The manufacturing process is going to be the same. The materials research, all of that's the same. You can do refinements, but they're pretty much going to be copies of each other. If you look at Huawei's fold phones that came out with last year, the Huawei phones are awesome.
So 1 to 3 or 4 folds.
Woo! Huawei got some good stuff, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah, the trifold that was dope. Yeah, I like that.
But
yeah, I mean, but to that point though, right? Like, I'm looking at what you're saying, the Surface Duo, right? That was the one from Microsoft.
That's
so
right.
yeah, it looks exactly, or the projected image that they're showing as of now looks exactly like the Surface Duo. But that look, like, I don't like that look. Like, I really like the Oppo look. I even like the Samsung Galaxy, the Galaxy Fold look. Yeah, like.
Well, Apple has the branding issue above all else because everybody wants an Apple product to look like an Apple product. So to me, when I look at this, I say this is a mini iPad.
Right.
So I mean, they have to continue with that look. So they can't innovate the style that much without pissing off their customer base.
I think that is the biggest crutch that has been haunting Apple since Steve went like this. Hey, it plays songs too.
The iPod Pro. The iPod Pros.
God, I feel old. That's crazy. No, so look, we were talking about the Nintendo DS, right? Or wait, no, not D10. Switch. Is that no, Switch is different.
Switch 2.
Switch 2, yeah, let's get it right. I missed all those versions of it. Jesus. It's crazy because I was looking at how the graphics are for Cyberpunk. I don't like it, man. It's not the same.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
you look at the specs of the Switch and the Switch 2 in comparison to like a PS5 or even your computer.
yeah.
It's
Well, I was looking more along the lines of uh, what is it? What's the ROG one? The handheld.
Yeah, the ROG Strix. Is it the ROG Strix?
I think that's what it's called. Is hold on. I know it's one of the laptops, but I feel like hold
Are you
on.
talking about like the Ally or an actual laptop?
No, it's not a laptop. Oh yeah, it's the Ally. Yeah, Ally
Ally.
7. Yeah. So I don't remember if Kelso had which one he had, but whatever that model was, like it was so much better than the Switch, as far as like overall game rendering or what have you. But yeah, no, that was my own little caveat to it. I still like the Switch, but I was kind of disappointed that it didn't live up to the hype from Cyberpunk perspective.
Yeah, and the Ally
Oh,
for a good while there had, it was a good concept, but you know, for a long time they made the Ally with a plastic chassis, and that created thermal issues, and so there were a lot of returns of the Ally.
so the
Yeah,
difference there, which just surprised me because I had no idea. The difference is just how much bigger the ROG Ally GPU or APU is. It's 1,500 cores versus 700.
that will do it. Okay, that makes sense. Moral of the story: go with ROG.
Yeah, it's 8.294 teraflops versus 4.301.
Nice.
It's a
I mean,
massive difference.
again though, I didn't buy the Switch to play that on it though, so it's not a big deal. But I thought that would be cool. Just it's easier. So I
Also,
don't have to carry around the laptop or something like that.
it's also double the same DDR5 RAM.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I
Wow.
mean, yeah, yeah, makes sense.
The Alex kind of cracked out. Never realized it.
And there's one other one that I was actually looking at after the fact. I think is it from Lenovo?
Yep,
Uh,
Lenovo had one. It might have been a Legend branding on that, but yeah, Lenovo had one for sure.
Or just dump $1,000 on a new Steam Deck and be really sad.
no, I'm good.
Yeah, well, Steam sounds very promising just in general as an ecosystem. So um, get the Knights of the Old Republic back on there, and you're good to go.
Is it the
50.
Legion Go 2?
Legion, yep.
Legion Go 2.
Mhm.
Go to. Um, nice. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I conflated my Legion with my Legend because Lenovo was originally Legend computers until
Mm,
IBM sold their laptop business to Legend computers and they rebranded themselves to Lenovo.
nice. Oh, so this is like I like about $100 more. 120 hertz, 16 gigabytes. Eh, yeah, ROG. But either way, I did hear though, some people were saying that it was still even not the same on that as well, even the more newer model. So, man, some of these games, man, you just got to play on the rig, man.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think the best experience is going to be on a console for a lot of things because of the tuning, the optimizations you can do, and then just a traditional gaming rig. I mean, the more surface area you got, the more capability you're going to have, just in general.
PC Master Race. Except for Linux on a PS5, that's pretty solid.
Are you still trying to like? We got to get Jesse a PS5. He can just break open.
I'll eventually buy a broken one off eBay, then solder whatever needs to be soldered, and then throw Linux on it to play with.
So are they coming out with that new Xbox?
Dude, I am so far out of the loop when it comes to consoles.
I heard an announcement about the Xbox today that, yeah, it was in a newsletter that I got. They're coming out with an Xbox. I didn't have a date on it, but they're raising the prices on it. And Microsoft said, the RAM prices are just, forcing it. And Apple is raising the prices of Mac. And so, because of RAM prices.
Is this the Xbox Series X25? Oh yeah, 25th anniversary console control.
I know that I'm still angry that Sony is going exclusive for all of their games.
Oh yeah. That's true. I forgot about that.
It's unfortunate.
Sour grapes with Steam.
Man, they didn't learn about the whole dispute between Apple and Android about freaking blue bubbles and shit for text feature. Like, remember the whole issue when they're like, Apple needs to get out of here, man. But I mean, at least we got Type C chargers now on the Apple devices, so.
And apparently, Google and Apple came to an agreement, I think last week or somewhere there, where they're going to come together on those bubbles now.
Really?
Yep. So they're going to try to.
It only took 16 years.
It only took them 16 years, 7 months, and 2 days.
But that investment that Apple is having to make into Google AI to have that on their phones, that creates new alliances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the Siri AI. Again, I know we've talked about this before, but like, come on, Apple, please, like, give us something because you keep increasing the price. The phone looks the same, man. Like, you can't just make this little bubble a little bit smaller and be like, hey, $200 more. Like, it's not how it works, man. Like, the camera needs to be, it needs to be better, man. Like 48 megapixels, man. Like, not when you have phones that have 200 megapixels. Like, it's just crazy. And then on top of that, you have like the whole, yeah, it's just crazy. I don't know, man. I don't know what Apple's doing as far as, I think they're betting all their chips on this AI, but they've been talking about AI since, before 26 version.
Well, I gotta go ahead.
I was gonna say, hot take. Apple has plateaued since Steve Jobs passed away. Wozniak is still a genius, but he stepped back, and I think they've just plateaued since.
I take a whole different view on that. I am on a whole different view on that, and I spent a lot of time, as a vendor for all of these companies. I sold all their stuff, right? I sold all their hardware for a long time, and thing of it is that, yeah, Steve Jobs had some great vision for his time, but I do think that where they have gone with the Mac platform, hardware-wise, at least hardware-wise, just going into weeds a little bit, they hired this guy called Papermaster, right? I forgot where they hired him from, but he was this genius in terms of, what do you call it, foundries, chips, making chips. So Apple, they've innovated on like what you call that consolidated architecture, consolidated hardware architecture where the memory, the CPU, all of that, the storage, it's all just consolidated, right? And so it runs more efficiently, right? They've done some great stuff. The Apple Watch, right? They did great there. I mean, that's pretty cool. You can just go on. The thing about them though is that their thing is refinement, and I personally prefer refinement over, oh, here's this new gadget. It's a cool concept, but it don't work half the time, right? So I look at it like that for a little bit. But when it comes to AI, I think Apple knows the truth, because I look at their words and their statement. They've done some research internally and they've publicized it. And they're like, if you read, if you translate it, they're just saying AI don't really work. Now we know AI works okay for some things, but they're saying that it's not intelligent, and they're correct about that. So I think they saw where large language models are going, and they're like, hey, we're not going to put all our chips into it, like Google, Anthropic, OpenAI, because we're seeing what happened with Microsoft. Microsoft lost billions of dollars on this stuff, man. And Apple is not well, let me just go say it because I can't think of a better word. They're not a dumb company like that. So they're just, they're smart with their money.
So I was talking specifically the phones. Now the M series, I think, is a crazy leap in technology. Are you talking about Mark Papermaster, like the guy from IBM that went to Apple, then to
Yes.
AMD?
Yeah.
Because he's behind, I think, the new AMD chipsets that are coming out, and I have high hopes for those.
Right. See, IBM filed an injunction against Apple to prevent Papermaster from helping Apple in re-engineering all of that. And so the A series chip was the prototype for the M series chip. They started that 10, 15 years ago. And that was a long time.
I was still in the military, so it was like 2010, 2011.
Yeah, exactly. And so he blueprinted that whole thing out. He's like, hey, do it in the phones first, and so, but, if you want to know my opinion, I think all of our technology is behind. Where's our Star Trek holograms, right? Where is our computer that's not even a computer, where I just talk and there's some computer somewhere and it just does some things for me. You know what I'm saying?
Government oversight. It's all in the government.
What happened? Did you? All right. Next topic. You said government oversight, and they totally just shut down all your mics. That is hilarious. That is the. See?
Government oversight. That's what happened.
But yeah, so it's my core thesis that, yeah, all the technology that we have, that you, Jesse, myself, all the stuff that we know, at some point, in the best case, we got to throw it all in the trash, man. It just got to be thrown away, right? I know that sounds very extreme, but if you really study this stuff, I'm talking about the actual hardware, the actual software. If you study this stuff, I mean, it was great for its time in the 70s. This is still 1970s technology. It's been great. Good run. We got to throw this stuff away, man. And we've got to create something completely different.
Yeah, I think that's where the biggest output from AI and the biggest gains can be found is in that, right? Like everybody's trying to they're in this race to build this perfect AI, but forgetting the main process of leveraging the AI to make sure that the end product is even better than it's ever been, right? Like we know that we're not going to create nothing else that any times better than it already is. Like we know we would already came up with it, right? So you're seeing all these small little advances in these little minute areas when individuals are leveraging AI, right? And they're like, oh, this is amazing. But what they're really leveraging is it's something so simple. Like you're creating another plugin for what? Like if it's not beneficial to you, why are you creating a plugin? just because you can do it. You could have did it a long time ago. Oh, because you have AI now, and AI will write the code for you. So now you want to do it, but it's like you're still wasting processing and computing time on BS.
See,
If
see,
AI
see what
was that,
see
sorry,
what we're doing is, as an industry, we're milking this technology. We're milking it. We're just getting it. See, okay, reason I say that, okay, I know some old professors. I know a professor who makes professors, right? White-haired guy. He makes professors. He used to be like the vice president of Citigroup or whatever, technology, right? And he tells me things that I didn't even know existed. They got stuff on mainframes that can lock down security, transaction security. You can't hack that stuff. All right. And then my own research, we got holograms. We got holographic technology. Problem is, I got some people that I know that I can't talk about. They tell me that a lot of stuff don't come out because it would threaten the status quo commercially, or it's just too expensive and they don't know a good way to commercialize it, right? So you're stuck with what you got. And then some things I can talk about that's actually in the public, because you can find this online. I even did some research. Homomorphic algorithms, homomorphic encryption. I don't know if you're familiar with, Jesse, you're familiar with homomorphic encryption? Yep. See, so you can encrypt stuff at rest without doing an intermediate decryption step, right? So we're talking about it just stays encrypted. You don't have a point where it displays on the screen unencrypted, or you got to do something. It just you can compute, you can calculate with it still in an encrypted state. IBM did that research 20 years ago. It's not in any of our stuff at the consumer level. Where's that stuff at? So what I'm really saying is, we actually got these technologies, right? They're just under wraps.
So it's funny you mentioned that, because Splunk did an article recently saying that they're going to start using that, and it's a brand new type of encryption, but that's been around forever. But as you were saying, like stuff that we have that would be public but cost prevents it. It's like the concept of quantum computing. We're at the point in quantum computing now where normal people can start programming it if they spend a little bit of effort. The issue is you can't get the hardware.
Well, okay, so HP did have to their credit, about 15 years ago, they made a big deal about it for 2 years, and I was like, yeah, man, they was designing a quantum computer for consumer use, and they said they're gonna have to redo the Linux operating system so it can run on there. Well, they ran into all kinds of issues with that, and so it crashed and burned. But it was like it was going to be this brand new hardware architecture. It was in all the news, the tech news websites. It was a real deal that they were coming out with. But so sometimes they do try, and they spend so much money on it, and it doesn't work out. But the thing about that is, for a while, that whole research that HP did into quantum computing for the consumer level, and Toshiba too, because Bill Gates and Microsoft, when Bill Gates was still there, they were investing in Toshiba when they were still a viable company. Toshiba was studying quantum computing and how they can consumerize it. And it was like, you ended up with better Toshiba computers. You ended up with better HP computers for a good while because they did all of that work. Yep. As far as I know, we still got quantum computing in some of our communications tech. Network communications tech.
I think SpinQ, it's like a Gemini lab computer, was supposed to become consumer, but I don't think it ever did. It was like 5 to 7K. That was their entry level. But you had to apply to buy it.
Hello,
What up?
Joe.
Hey, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
What's going on?
This is my opportunity to say, yo, Joe.
That's right. The irony, I just got back from seeing He-Man, so
Nice. Yeah, we were just talking about some fun things. And Jesse was just going to jump into his research. Go
have
ahead,
at it.
Jesse.
Of what research am I jumping into?
The stuff we were talking about right before we went live.
Oh, CSI.
Yeah.
I'm reverse engineering a chip. That's where I'm stuck right now. That's CSI research has been pretty much the same place as like in industry as a whole for a while. I think the new transition that most researchers are going into is looking at like the entire BSI or BFI model currently. But I'm currently reversing an AX 2010 chip because the BE200 I was going to have to actually crack the firmware on the chip itself, but it's technically illegal.
So what's the point of reversing the chip or the driver?
So Nexmon is actually the custom driver that does the BFI reception on the chipsets for the AX10, the 20, and I think one other. And you can get your channel state information from it, but it's very noisy. So I wanted to try doing it myself and pulling that data directly from the pathways.
So the goal to reverse engineer it is to be able to slim down the noise to get the exact channels you're looking at to understand the I guess what the throughput and throttle and kind of the target location.
Correct. The game plan was to be able to map them together, but then I discovered what's a chipset called?
You muted yourself when you went to go look for your chip.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Oh man, hold on. I gotta look this up now.
We'll come back to you. So how was the movie?
It was cute. It was as cheesy, right? They went super cheesy with it, doing it on purpose. So I loved it. I loved it. It was the perfect amount of He-Man 2026 cheese, Masters of the Universe 2026 cheese.
So is it based off like the original He-Man, like the cartoon?
Oh, it's based off shenanigans. It's the characters are the same, but the what is it? The story has changed because the again, if the cartoon was nominal, the old movie was nominal, right? They have nothing to do with each other. Everything. It's just a good story. It's like if this were to happen today, this is what He-Man would do, right?
So it's like, did you see the reboot to that '70s show?
We watched the '90s show. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's the one. Yeah. It's like that.
Yeah. So exactly, you know the characters, you know the names, but they're different, right? So like you know Prince Adam, Battle Cat, and Man at Arms, you know all these people, and
You know you're old when you remember all those names.
so, but they played it up just right.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was actually in theaters. It's cool. It's cool. So overall, it was a good movie.
Yeah,
Nice.
it had just the right of cheesiness. Like I said, well, if I had a kid, would I take a kid to see? Yeah, if he kind of knew they kind of knew what He-Man was, absolutely. But other than that, it's okay to introduce a kid to it this way, but as well as the big old Mattel logo at the beginning of the movie made me go, that's right.
Nostalgia.
That's right. Get me them He-Man action figures. Give me that Battle Cat action figure. Let's go. They knew.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, did you pull it up, Jesse?
Yeah, time of flight sensor. I don't know why I couldn't get that through my brain for a minute. I just completely lost it. So my current thesis is unless I can get the noise super clear, CSI on a passive network, yeah, you can see it in a lab, but in the real world, you're not going to get any meaningful data from a like actual passive. Because like when a cop does it, for instance, they're actually using your active signal and connecting to it. So it's like me pinging my own device through you.
Yeah.
But the time of flight sensor basically broadcasts and then receives itself. Then you can actually 3D model based off of that. And it's just built into the firmware on the chip.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you're not looking at the through wall concept, that's by far your easiest. And the update rates on them is super fast as well. And I
So
believe
you're
even
able to
the
see the
SPS
packets even quicker then?
Yeah. Like the one that because China.
You said China and your mic cut.
Yeah, I ordered one from ESP32 that's from China. I'm
Yeah.
still waiting on it to arrive.
That
But
2-week Temu shipping.
the rate at which it detects is something like, so it's 2,000 millimeters as far as distance goes. And the update rate on it is right at, I think it's one of like 45 packets per second or something.
What would a normal rate in distance be?
So the testing that I did on the SPF 32 C6 NIC, I started losing accuracy at about say 30 to 40 feet, but that's clear, no walls. If you start
Okay.
adding walls, it's on that chip, it's unfortunately very low. And that was also active connection, so you're pinging yourself through a router. And
So
the packet rates were, I think it was 3 per second.
So what do you mean you're pinging yourself through a router? That meaning like you'd have to like connect to a router anyway and then start tracking yourself?
Yeah, you actually have to connect to the network and send active pings, just like the same way the police force one works. So you're generating your own traffic and receiving it.
Gotcha. And that's all in an effort to essentially wiggle some of the bits loose and so that way they can be captured or seen or.
Yeah. So you intercept the channel state header and it's in there. But like the concept of like Nexmon on the 10 series chipset, that's passive, so you don't actually have to connect to the network. So theoretically, you could grab like the Bluetooth and wireless data that's just floating around and pull the information off of that.
Okay. And I mean, I guess, you keep talking about police usage, but too, I don't know if you talked about this stuff, but Flock, which is not police, and then also doesn't Walmart essentially use this kind of stuff too?
Dude, Flock is awesome. Like picking up all of the cameras with it just sitting on your dashboard, so like a homing thing coming off.
Yeah.
It's actually illegal in Florida now.
To track or to try to hack Flock?
I find it so funny that Florida said that it's illegal to use.
Oh, interesting.
Are you talking about what the Falk transmitter?
No, Flock,
Oh, Flock.
FLOCK.
Oh, so what
Yeah.
is that?
If you ever played the game Watch Dogs, it's CTOS in real life.
Oh, okay, yeah. Watchdog.
Yeah, they are working on so Flock is a camera / license plate reader, but they also have technology that as you drive by, it captures Bluetooth packets, phone packets.
It's like for like war driving and shit.
No, from their perspective, no. It's more like, I just want to know who drove by, so let me try to grab as many data points as I can about them, so that way I can, if they go by another flock sensor, I'll be able to track that license plate, car, person, place, or thing to locations.
Yeah, so now in Florida, if you build a flock sensor using a little ESPF32 chip, they're going to grab your phone information and then fine you.
All right. Since I'm sitting in my office and I didn't want to turn the light on, I grabbed a red LED light. It's just, Jesus, that's too bright though.
Just start getting some like a rave lights around your neck.
All I could find is a red one, and I could just always do that.
The more that I get outside of like the lab testing, there's one guy, I can't remember his name right now. He actually did real world CSI testing that he proved that it is viable in an offensive security format somewhat. Like your biggest issue is most of the time it requires active connections, and then you start getting into WIDs.
Yeah.
So it gets picked up pretty easy. That's why I was looking at the more passive route.
So, again, the idea that you're reverse engineering this is so that way you could get a faster clock time, faster response time, be able to, I guess, potentially channel hop quicker, right? Because if you're trying to like follow, not necessarily follow somebody, but kind of tell where they are, and they have a device that hops, which is what some of the more modern technologies do. The irony behind that's originally what Wi-Fi originally did, was hopped channels very rapidly, so that way you couldn't steal the packets. But that took so much power, right? It became a power issue on laptops. So batteries would just make. That's why the first Wi-Fi cards, like in old like original G3 MacBooks and stuff, like like my first PCI MCIA wireless card was like, yeah, if you're not using it, disconnect it, because it's constantly moving channels, reshaking the hand, rebuilding the frame, and then sending it out and then coming back. So
one of the interesting things I have found is most of the white papers, if you copy down like the firmware that they use, they treat it as bimodal, but it's actually interference from multiple channels. And that's what I ended up creating the custom drive for on the ESPF 36C or the ESP32C6.
okay.
And that actually cleaned up the noise quite a bit on that one.
So you're able to isolate a little better.
Yeah. So by doing that, I actually thought of a fun theory because of the schema sizes as you jump between channels. You might be able to artifact that and potentially get around widths.
Yeah.
But if you could figure out how to send the information consistently while bouncing around.
I mean, that would be the goal, right? It's to, if you're on the move or something else is on the move, to be able to sample distance, perimeter, and attenuation quicker, right?
Yeah. As I figured out that the other chip that I was talking about, the time of flight sensor, it does everything much easier, smaller, because you don't have to deal with all of the data once you intercept the CSI headers. So it's much smaller file sizes you have to deal with to transmit. Just like blew most of that research out of the water.
So what would be the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal is I wanted something I could drop in a building and then create hotspots based on things like guard patterns or movement. Something that would take the concept of like information and turn it into intelligence. for an offensive or for somebody doing physical testing. So if you could determine patterns, for instance.
Yeah. Deterministic patterns based on movement without having to hotwire a GPS to the guard or the device. But again, now you're essentially tracking the free tracking device in their pocket. And if they're connected to the in-house Wi-Fi, even better, because then you can trickle more packets out, isolate to an individual rather than trying to guess. So it makes sense. Very similar to what you said, the intel, the intel into intelligence path. So.
That was the game plan behind it, anyway.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting to watch how it's evolved as information's come in, because I've proved my theories wrong over and over again, and the ones that were proven right have just changed the entire direction.
So you were able to now you're purchasing a ESP32C or W or like a wireless capable device for insert probably dollars. And then so if you took a smattering of them and then made them like as you said, like binomial or bi-capable, bi-directional capability, you could mesh them, cluster them together, and then easily be able to put one in each corner of the building, and then maybe a larger attenuation antenna in a vehicle parked outside, and then kind of go, hey, I can damn near pinpoint them down to the inch at that point, practically. And then again, guards patterns, as you said, create instant Wi-Fi. So you can also start de-authing if you need to buy yourself a moment or two, maybe block out a wireless camera instead of a hardwired camera, right? There's definitely a certain number of capabilities here.
So the ESP stuff, that all has their own mesh network that you can use. So the testing that I did here, because I have 2 S3s and 2 C6s, I can actually drop them so that I can see the dog movement through the hallways.
Nice.
My issue with those is where they're active, you lose a lot of signal on walls. But it's like you said, mesh a bunch of them together. And something I wanted to test out was using like a mesh of 4 and then add one more to create the signal.
Yeah. I imagine you're getting some that are, powered. So if I recall right, an ESP32, 65 watts with like some number of 10 some meg of RAM / storage, right? Depending on which models you get, of course. So slapping that onto a large Anchor battery pack, slapping it in the bottom of a trash can, helping to defeat the attenuation. You park around the corner, aim a big antenna, you drop a couple throughout the building when it's not supposed to be there, when you're supposed to be there, maybe a floor above, floor below. Well, again, you've still got this perfectly portable, cheap, as long as you don't buy a $400 battery pack.
So including the SIM card, it was $31.
For how many?
That was per device, and that was me 3D printing a case, and it's smaller than an Apple charger, like for my MacBook.
Well,
and the battery's rechargeable.
Well, and I would say that also brings up the point that if you leave it in a conference room and vampire tap off of a what is it, telecom, big PoE telecom device, you vampire tap off something like that, you put a little cord in between those 2 points. Again, now you're amplifying your capability, length of time, length of engagement, signal. And then
you also have to make sure that you put the tape that says IT, please do not disconnect as well.
That's right. Important. Internet here.
Yeah. Not suspicious.
Not suspicious. Totally normal cable. Trust.
What's the next hot topic? I think Joe, you should be the one who drops the next spicy hot topic.
I just sent you boys a screenshot.
DPAT.
So I got DPAT 7 billion parameter. So I bought an NPU, the AX 8850. Look up that model. I have the Redaxa AI Core AXM1. There's also the M5 stack AX8850. They're all the same basic chipset. I've been hacking on this thing for solidly a week, and when I'm not personally hacking on it, I'm having my agentic AI hack on it and either write new drivers or write new things. I could go into how all that speculation works. Now I know how CMM, or continuous memory, and OOM or OBM, out of band memory. I can tell you all about KV caches and for all this stuff for LLMs now, beating on this thing long enough, because essentially what you're looking at here, just to simplify it for those that have glazed over now that I've gone acronym hungry, you're essentially looking at a computer inside of your computer. So the AX8850 is a Raspberry Pi, but it's an ARM chip with straight up 8 gigabytes of RAM/ROM, right? You write the hardware to it, it boots up. It's like an IoT device. Its job is IoT AI, edge AI. 24 tops at a init4. All the init4 images are fucking broken, meaning that I have downloaded every single one of them, got them installed, got them running, ran them through this proprietary Pulsar 2 piece of technology. I've used 3 or 4 different models of it. One directly from Redaxa, one from Axera, Axera, whatever pronunciation. I've not grabbed the M5 Pulsar, but I grabbed the M5 AX LLM, which is how they convert their models. It's dang near the same thing, but they did a little bit better stuff. So I'm just trying to get it to work on the chipset through a bunch of hacky methods. Now, that being said, I've been able to patch their HTTP server, because when you push the hardware and the service, the model, right? So essentially you're grabbing the model, you rewrite it so it's 128 megabyte blocks up to 8 gig. So what you then have to do is, if you're using a 8 billion parameter, right? That's supposed to be about 8 gigabytes, right? It's now the math, if you're using full size quantization, is about that. So then you make it from 16 to 8. It gets a little smaller. You make it 16 to 4. It can use up about half the space, which is cool. So now 8 billion parameter takes 4.2 to 4.4 gigabytes. So now I've got 4 gigabytes of context. So keep that in mind, right? So that's the KV cache, but you have to statically carve it out. So you sit there and you load the blocks, and then you go, okay, how much more space do I have? And then, just like the old C languages and stuff, you fill it in. You have to manually create a blank space, and then you host it through a web server and a built-in HTTP server into every model. Again, that's how this is IoT, right? This isn't just me using a video card. This isn't just me using a normal processor, a normal computer. This is all IoT. So you load it in, and now it has the capability. So essentially, in essence, you're carving the data perfectly, and then you're filling in the rest of the space with zeros, and then you host the HTTP server, and all those spaces that are zeros are now writable, though, from, essentially I'm process injecting, whatever the terminology you want, and I'm able to use that cache as my context window, meaning that now I can have that conversation with the LLM on the piece of hardware. Does that make sense so far? Okay. So the problem is the vendor is, not that it's a problem that they are Chinese, but the problem is the vendor is using Quinn and DeepSeek models, which is great for them. And DeepSeek is actually brilliant and good. I like DeepSeek, but the Quinn models, like the 0.6, the 0.5 billion, the 0.6 billion, and the 0.8 billion, and the 1 billion, and the 1.5 billion models they use, start vomiting up because there isn't enough context of the operating system. And when it loads, it's either in Chinese or it just blasts gibberish. Like, imagine literal random, like Cyrillic looking ASCII characters, because it just, the HTTP server doesn't know how to reply, or it starts to hallucinate and literally just keeps saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over. Okay. So I got it to work. I recompiled some of the models. I'm using the older AX650 models instead of the AX8850 models. So this is their older model. The irony is the older model has a little bit more RAM. You could do 8, 12, 16. It can go, that one can go up to 32 gigs of ROM space, but it's slower. It's like it's 2 CPUs, but it's not a dual core, right? There's CPU 1, CPU 2, and they independently act with the memory separately. So that causes some other issues. But once you get a good 650 image working, you convert it to the 8850 and it works just fine. All right, so then that's how I got DeepSeek, got all these other models to work. But then some of the models that you download from Hugging Face are missing the tokenizer files, the JSON files, the files essentially how to tell the hardware to work. So then I grabbed all of the original ones, did a comparison across the board, wrote a script to then take all of that data, cram it into, oh, hey, here's the 7 billion, the 8 billion parameter, but let's quantize it down to init4, so that way it takes 4 gigabytes instead of whatever. So that's what I've been doing. Well, today I also, or I guess a few days ago, I learned that, oh, by the way these compile, you can't really use Gemma and some of the other thinking and distilled or dense models. You have to use like the Q4KM or medium quant models. All right, so when you go to Hugging Face, you see all the numbers everywhere. Look them up. They do mean something. Q4 is quant 4. The K usually means like the cache size, and then the M means medium. There's an L, which means large. There's a D, which means ultra dense, and then there's like an S for small. So essentially, you're just looking at the way that the model actually stores the bits. Well, you can't use any of the L's because, again, you have to quantize it to init4 in 128 megabyte chunks, so it can load into the memory in sequential order. If not, out of band memory, boom, whole project's bored. All right. Well, Meta and Quinn models are built about the same way. So now I have some Llama models working. Well, guess what? DPAT, the pen testing successor to White Rabbit, which was a excellent chef's kiss first attempt at a ethical hacker unlocked, or now we call them obliterated model. Obliterated means just uncensored, intentionally uncensored. So with all of that, I was able to finally get a working Pulsar 2 run, and then I borrowed the exact size quant file from the Llama 3, 1 billion and 7 billion that the vendor put together, crammed it all together, crammed it in the machine, and after 3 different attempts to get it run, because each time we found a different bug, and we were able to get it to go, but we were, again, using the OODA, OODA loops, OODA loops, I was able to just have the machine just keep observing. Just build it, observe, then come up with a solution. Don't patch on the fly, because at this point, it's middle of the day, work day. I was like, you've got to do more of the work, and I'll jump in. Well, after the 3rd recompile today, as I got closer and closer, I was able to get DPAT, 7 billion parameter, init4. So it's really running at about 3.8 gigabytes on the RAM. So I still have about 4.2. There's some overhead for, again, the operating system and the HTTP C++ built HTTP server that hosts the communication portway. So that's like your Llama CPP, right? So I'm literally building Llama CPP on hardware, right? I'm not compiling. It's just raw CPP running kind of on the hardware. It's their own custom, but that's the best way I can say it, imagine it. So that's where today, and right before I left for the movie, I saw it pop up and it said, great success. I've ran the model, I've benchmarked it, you're getting a blazing 7 tokens per second. That's not blazing, for the record. Humans supposedly thinking about 7 tokens per second. So most models can go up to 40, 60, 80, 144, depending on the quantization and what you're asking it. Since this is a medium model, Q4, that's actually pretty good. Again, on a $200 device that I can put in. If there's any M2 slot on the device you're looking at, I can put this in there, and now you can run DPAT 7 billion parameter and ask it hacking questions.
Nice. Well, we only have 4 more minutes. So with that being said,
everywhere I look, it's out of stock.
We do a thing that basically this or that. So this time around, the this or that is going to be like, as of now, what do we see? What is your favorite AI frontier model? What are we going with?
For me,
this is for everybody.
I'm still frontier wise. I'm still Gemini all the way. It's to me, it's the perfect quantization, the perfect mixture of experts. You can go from 3.1 Pro to 3.5 Flash to 3.5 Lite and get answers. The light is blazingly fast. Again, that's probably like upwards of 144 tokens per second. And then you can get smart stuff. And to my knowledge, I don't know if it's the most affordable, but again, I think they're building a great ecosystem. I did hear that they killed Gemini CLI today. I haven't fully investigated that, but that's my go-to is still Gemini and Gemma.
Yeah, it's basically AGY 2.0 from here on out. They got rid of the CLI for that. But for me as well, I think long term it's going to be Google. I mean, that's just my take on it. Jesse, Mike.
I think that long term Google, like you said, is going to win. But right now, I have to say that probably Claude's my favorite. And my thought process behind that is it was so good the government had to ban it.
All right, Mike, we're gonna finish off with you. What's your take on it?
Well, like Jesse said, I think Anthropic produces the highest quality model. But my prediction from 2022 still holds that ultimately Google will dominate on the strength of their compute infrastructure. And just I've been using Google for the last 3 months, and I've been satisfied with it.
Actually have a take on that. The Google part. So I think that Google positioned themselves well that when Frontier starts falling, think of everything that Google has that can interface. So like YouTube, Gmail, all of that. I think they positioned really well for that.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was really interesting to me for XAI and SpaceX, whatever, to buy Cursor. And then, so that kind of eliminated a competitor. And then, well, I think, again, Google just positioned strong, but we'll see where it goes.
Yep. All right, y'all. Thanks for coming out.